Imagine waking up in the morning without a clock, no phone, and no sunlight to tell the time. Not a single signal to let you know what day it is, or even whether it's morning or afternoon. All you have is a feeling. It sounds like a science fiction movie scenario, but this is exactly what happened to 15 people in a bold experiment called Deep Time, conducted in France in 2021. From the very beginning, this experiment attracted global public attention, not only because of its scale, but also due to its strange and somewhat eerie idea, locking 15 volunteers in a completely dark cave for 40 days without letting them know the time or have any contact with the outside world. But what drove a group of people to embark on such a harsh challenge, and what did they go through in that endless darkness? The Deep Time experiment, led by French explorer Christian Clot, was designed to study how humans adapt when completely cut off from biological and social rhythms. On March 14, 2021, a group of 8 men and 7 women entered the Lombrief's cave, one of the largest natural caves in Europe, bringing with them enough food, water, and health monitoring equipment, but absolutely no clocks, phones, or any tools that could help them keep track of time. When the door of the Lombrief's cave closed behind them, the 15 volunteers officially entered a completely different world. With no sunlight, everything around them was thick darkness and near-total silence, with only the sound of dripping water and the echoes of their footsteps reverberating through the cave. The first challenge came within the very first days, adapting to eternal darkness. Although they were equipped with flashlights and headlamps to illuminate their living areas, this artificial light was entirely different from the natural light the human body is accustomed to. At first, many people felt tired more quickly than usual and became easily irritated as their bodies had not yet adapted. Another challenging factor was the temperature. Inside the cave, the temperature remained at around 10 degrees Celsius, with humidity levels reaching up to 95%. The dampness caused clothes, belongings, and even blankets to always be clammy and cold, increasing the sense of discomfort and requiring a strong will to stay motivated. As time passed, the greatest challenge was the loss of time perception. With no sunrise or sunset, no alarm clocks or work schedules, they began to live according to their own biological rhythms. According to monitoring devices, most members of the group maintained a sleep-wake cycle averaging between 30 to 34 hours, much longer than the 24-hour cycle we are familiar with. This shows that when not influenced by natural light, the human biological clock can become completely out of sync. Organizing life in the cave also required close cooperation. The group assigned tasks among themselves. Some took care of cooking, others checked equipment, some kept a journal, and they held regular group meetings despite having no concept of time to share information and resolve emerging issues. In such deprived and confined conditions, communication and mutual support were vital elements that helped them maintain morale. Besides work, they also came up with light physical games, storytelling contests, or even exercise to maintain both physical and mental health. One volunteer shared, "We quickly realized that if we didn't create joy, loneliness would erode our will." The final days in the cave were filled with contradictions. On one hand, they had become accustomed to the timeless rhythm of life. But on the other, the longing for sunlight and free air grew stronger and stronger. When the cave door opened after 40 days, the burst of sunlight overwhelmed many and moved them deeply. Some even burst into tears at finally seeing the sky again. Interestingly, when asked how much time had passed, most of the volunteers underestimated. They thought it had only been about 30 to 33 days. This supports the hypothesis that isolated environments can compress time perception, causing us to misjudge reality. Looking back on the entire journey, all participants admitted it was an unforgettable experience, full of challenges, yet one that gave them a deeper understanding of themselves and the power of resilience. Right from its announcement, the Deep Time project sparked much debate within the scientific community and the public. Although the research objectives were clear and had high practical value, the biggest question many people raised was, is it really necessary to push humans to such extreme limits to collect data? One of the issues that drew the most public concern was the potential long-term psychological impact. Psychologists warned that living in prolonged isolation, lacking natural light, and losing control over time could lead to anxiety disorders, depression, or even chronic sleep disturbances. Some compared this experiment to psychological torture methods recorded in history, where isolation and deprivation of information became tools for inflicting mental harm. In addition, some opinions suggested that despite being voluntary, Deep Time still placed the volunteers in potentially dangerous situations, whose consequences were difficult to fully predict. In the event of a severe psychological crisis, emergency response in the cave, a complex and hard-to-reach environment, would face many obstacles. On the other hand, some scientists criticized the experiment as being more of a performance than pure research. They questioned whether the results obtained from 15 people in a cave could truly be representative of all humanity, or if this was simply a project designed to attract media attention. Notably, on social media forums, public opinion was divided into two camps. One admired the courage and spirit of exploration of the volunteer group, seeing it as a necessary stepping stone for future space exploration and survival in extreme environments. The other condemned the experiment as a dangerous and inhumane social experiment, arguing that humans should not be treated as lab rats in such extreme trials. To ease concerns, the experiment's organizers repeatedly affirmed that all volunteers had been carefully selected, were in good physical and mental health, and received full medical and psychological support before, during, and after the experiment. There was even an on-call medical team ready to intervene in case of emergencies, and all volunteers signed a voluntary agreement with the right to leave the experiment at any time. Even so, the echoes of these debates remain, as they touch on a larger question: where should the boundaries of science and ethics lie? Deep Time has become a prime example of the ongoing tension between the thirst for knowledge and the responsibility to protect humans from unnecessary risks. Putting aside the controversy, Deep Time provided valuable data. It helped the scientific community gain a better understanding of human adaptability under prolonged isolation, something extremely important as humanity increasingly aims for goals such as living in outer space, exploring deep underground regions, or beneath the ocean. Additionally, this research offers useful insights for treating circadian rhythm disorders such as insomnia or seasonal affective disorder. Beyond science, Deep Time also carries profound humanistic meaning. It forces us to reflect on the relationship between humans and time, on how we depend on clocks and schedules, and what happens when all of that disappears. The Deep Time experiment has come to an end, but the questions it raised still remain. Through 40 days of living in darkness, ordinary people proved that they could adapt and survive under seemingly impossible conditions. They not only faced the darkness outside, but also had to overcome the fear and confusion within themselves. This experiment teaches us a profound lesson. When all external tools disappear, the inner strength of humans, their resilience, ability to cooperate, and survival instinct is the key to overcoming any challenge. And perhaps, in the not-so-distant future, the lessons from Deep Time will become the foundation for even greater journeys into outer space, to places where the very concept of time may become meaningless.